Woman podcast. Now, I did say I was going to change the name to the Well Rested Woman, but haven't had a chance to update it yet, so we're just going to roll with it. And today's conversation is going to be about the spiritual aspect of rest. I think a lot of us sometimes may not make this connection. And so I definitely wanted to talk about that and share just my perspective on why I believe it's the most important aspect of rest, especially for Black women. I feel like there is a attack almost on rest when it comes to Black women. We have a hard time embracing our call into a season of rest. We have a difficult time allowing ourselves to rest or giving ourselves permission to rest. And there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, historically, so much of our identity comes from what we can produce and what we can do, what we can make, what we can create, and that has been commodified and made into, um, yeah, an outcome, right? So the act of resting, there is no outcome, there is no product at the end, except your own transformation, which is phenomenal. But there isn't necessarily something tied to it. So the act of resting alone is the is the commodity. That is the value that we are needing to give to the concept of rest. Like the innate value of resting is in and of itself valuable to us. And a lot of times we don't see it that way. We don't see rest as a significant and valuable part of our identity, as a necessary part of our spirituality and our spiritual practice. So, yeah, that's what I want to talk about. And with that, I also wanted to jump into the concept of how rest is spiritual warfare. And when I say rest is spiritual warfare, what I mean is that we are not able to rest and obey God's call in our lives to enter our our spiritual rest because of our own inability to see rest as a spiritual practice. So a lot of times in other cultures, rest is a part of their lifestyle. You know, they have um, gap years that they're when you're finishing high school and on your way to college, there is what is called a gap year in many countries, and that's just a time for you to figure out what you want to do with your life. You literally take a year off, go explore, and find yourself. Um, there is also just a better value that's placed on family time and people having long vacations and summer vacations and really investing into their family and into their well being as just a norm. It's just a normal thing. It's not strange for you to take time off or the summer off to travel or be with your family, or 3 weeks off or something like that. It is normal in other cultures to value those times with your family and also physical health, right? Sometimes you are sick or you lose a parent and you're grieving. You need time to recover from that. And so when you're in a culture that appreciates that, it's easier. But when you're in a culture that does not see value in you resting, then it becomes a battle, almost like a warfare. You're struggling to get people to understand why you need to take time off, why it is important for you to help your mom or your sick child or whatever the case may be. Welcome, welcome. Today we're talking about rest as a spiritual practice and also rest as spiritual warfare. Our inability to rest is an attack. It's literally an attack, and we don't always see it that way because we're not necessarily paying attention to times where we might be called into a season of rest. We might be called to take a break, to slow down, to pay attention to something that requires you to be intentional in a way that you hadn't been before. Like you can't rush through this, right? There are seasons in our lives where we are called to slow down. And it can be difficult. Welcome to the live. This is actually a podcast recording. We are talking about rest as a spiritual practice and our inability to rest really as spiritual warfare. And we don't always see it like that. We don't always see it as an attack on us, but our most valuable possession is our time. It's our time. And when we are busy doing a lot of things, and oftentimes we're doing a lot of things that are not in alignment with our purpose, they're not in alignment with our calling. And so when we're busy doing a lot of things, we are wasting time. And sometimes the thing that we need to do is to slow down and recalibrate, reset, reconnect, and realign with our actual purpose so we can recognize whether we're going in the right direction or not. That slowing down is oftentimes met with resistance. That resistance can be internal or external because when you're in a society that does not value rest, whenever you slow down, you don't have value because your value is connected to what you produce, what you can do. And so if resting in and of itself is seen as not having innate value, then when you slow down to rest, then the association is you are not valuable. You may not add value to society if you slow down, but I think it's quite the opposite. I believe in everyone's lives, there are going to be seasons where you must slow down. You must begin to pay attention to where life is taking you. And it may not be in the direction that you've been going all this time. And there could be nudges, internal knowing like something doesn't feel right, something feels off. I feel like I'm being called in a different direction. But a lot of times, what we do is we just keep going. We keep going. Even when we feel like it's not the right path we're on, we still keep going. And so I believe that one of the things that we are not paying attention to is how important it is for us to slow down, take inventory, rest, and then continue on the path. Because sometimes when we slow down and realize like, wow, I'm really not in alignment with my purpose, that is an opportunity to change course, to redirect your own life so that you're not 10 years, 20 years down the road saying like, wow, I knew way back when I should have done something different. I should have made a different decision. I should have changed path. Typically, what forces people to make these decisions are health crisis, because a lot of times when we're not in alignment with what we are called to do, it creates a lot of stress and anxiety within us, within our body, because it doesn't flow. We are fighting with ourselves to motivate ourselves to do the thing that we know we're not supposed to be doing. So that internal battle is already going to be exhausting. You're exerting a lot of energy to make yourself do the thing you know you're not supposed to be doing when you're called to do something else. So that alone can trigger people to change. It's like, okay, you're met with a health I don't want to say crisis, but you get a doctor's report and they're saying, hey, a caution sign here. I want you to start paying attention to this, or your stress level, or your cholesterol, or whatever it is. Like those can be warning signs like, hey, slow down. Start to pay attention. Something in your life may need to change. you may need to change direction or course on the path that you're on. Another thing that sometimes forces people to realize, like, okay, I need to start doing things differently is a career change, like losing your job, you know, getting laid off. That could be an opportunity where someone realizes, like, wow, okay, this is a major life change. It's going to force me to pay attention to the thing that I've been ignoring because now I have time. I have time. Now that is difficult, a difficult situation to be in, but it is one of the ways in which we can sometimes be forced to go in a different direction. And particularly the direction that we've known we were supposed to be going in anyway. But life, God uses other things to get our attention. So all that to say, rest is spiritual. It's not just about getting a good night's sleep or taking a nap, or there is a spiritual element to it, because there are a lot of people who can take a vacation. The way I know rest is spiritual is that so many people go on vacation and they come home exhausted. So the act of going and planning this trip and spending all this money does not necessarily mean you're going to be rested, because you bring yourself with you. And if you are not in alignment internally, if you are not at peace within your body, within your conscience, within your spirit, then yeah, it's not going to be a restful vacation. You're not going to necessarily get all of the benefits out of that vacation. So, one of the best things we can do, let's say you don't have money for a vacation, one of the ways that you can rest is by coming in alignment spiritually. Because when you don't have that internal conflict and that resistance or that guilt or that shame or whatever is going on internally, when you can start to deal with those part of yourself, the heaviness, the weight of that, when you can release those things, there is a lightness and there is a flow that comes from that. And you don't have to pay any money for that, okay? You just work that out with God. Because a lot of times people are afraid to be still. They're afraid to be quiet with themselves. They're afraid to be alone with themselves because of all the things that are going to come up, the unfinished things, the conversations that we may need to have, the people we may need to forgive, or the people we may need to cut off, or whatever it is. It's like those areas in our lives, I believe if we focus on the spiritual aspect of rest, then whatever vacation you plan after you do all that is going to be 1,000 times better, because you're not going to bring all of that stuff with you on your trip. You're going to be free emotionally and you're going to benefit. And even if you don't take a vacation, you're going to sleep better. You'll have a better night's sleep. So that's what I wanted to share. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is the Rested Woman podcast. I just wanted to share a little bit of my thoughts around rest being spiritual and rest as spiritual warfare. All right, I hope you join the page and join us for the next one. Take care. Bye.